Well, good morning. If you are watching this online, this is a little bit different than what you normally see online here at the Orchard, but that's because really everywhere at the Orchard today looks a little bit different because today is Impact Sunday. And I had breakfast with a friend of mine this past week, and he was asking about Impact Sunday. He was like, I don't really understand what's going on. What are we doing? Like, we're coming to church, we're leaving. I said, "Yes, so what's gonna happen is we're gonna come to church, we're gonna meet, we're gonna huddle up, we're gonna pray, and then we're gonna go out into our communities. And we're just gonna be the hands and feet of Jesus. We're gonna serve our community. We're gonna love on people. We're gonna give something back to families in our community. Just really a day where we want something for them to do something for them instead of just asking something from them." And he looks at me and goes, "Okay, well, I can get behind that. I like that idea. I thought we were meeting at the church, going out, knocking on people's doors and inviting them to come back to church with us." I said, "No, that's not what we're doing." But it is funny that that's what he thought of because I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think about the church going out. We just go out to ask people to come back with us, to knock on doors and invite them in. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what Impact Sunday is all about. Impact Sunday is about being the tangible hands and feet of Jesus in our communities so that through relationship and investment, we can open the door for the gospel because at the Orchard, we have a heart to impact the lostness right here where we live. And we believe that we're going to do that as we build relationships and gain credibility with lost people inside of our community. Now, maybe you heard that idea, growing up over the years as something like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Well, that idea is not new. It's not new today. It's not new in the history of the church. As a matter of fact, that idea of us, the church, being a blessing to our communities is something we can trace all the way back to the Old Testament. We saw it in the last week of our vision series in Genesis chapter 12 when we looked at God's call to Abraham, when God said, "Look, I'm going to bless all the nations of the earth through you." And then today I want to take a few minutes and specifically look at seeing this idea in the book of Jeremiah. So if you got your Bible, go ahead and turn there. Jeremiah is a prophetic book where the prophet Jeremiah records what he hears from the Lord that he is to deliver to the nation of Israel, and specifically the nation of Israel that has been taken captive by the Babylonian Empire. You see, during Jeremiah's time, God had allowed the Babylonian Empire to come to the nation of Israel to conquer Jerusalem and to lead away its citizens, taking them back to Babylon, where they were going to live, God told them, for 70 years as captives in the land. And the book of Jeremiah is prophecy regarding that captivity in large part. And what I want to do is zoom in on Jeremiah chapter 29 and look specifically at the word of the Lord to those who were being held in this Babylonian captivity. And so if you got your Bible, let's look at Jeremiah chapter 29, starting in verse number 4. Let's read it together. "This is what the Lord of armies, the God of Israel, says to all the exiles I deported from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Find wives for yourselves and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters to men in marriage so that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there. Do not decrease." And then in verse 7, look at what he says. "Pursue the well-being of the city I've deported you to. Pray to the Lord on its behalf, for when it thrives, you will thrive." Now, I know if that's the first time you've ever heard those verses, and you're thinking of what God would say to the Hebrew people that are captive in this foreign pagan land, this may not be the message that you would expect, right? You would expect God to say something like, "Hey, make sure to stay away from the pagans. Make sure to stay pure. Contend for your faith. Build walls. Build a bubble. Stay isolated so that you don't become like that culture." But yet that's not what God tells those who are in captivity. He says, look, while you're in Babylon, build houses, plant gardens, get married and have kids, and then watch your kids get married and have kids. He says, pursue the well-being, pursue the good of that city, because when Babylon thrives, you're going to thrive. And I think that, again, may be counter, cultural in our minds, but really I think it's the same message that God would tell the church today. Because much like the nation of Israel, who had been taken from their homeland and were living in a foreign world, in a foreign culture that was not their ultimate home, that's who we are as the church today. We were reminded recently in this election season, and it's a good reminder for any season, that this world, this country, this culture is not our ultimate home as followers of Jesus. That we are citizens of another country. We are citizens of a better country. We belong to a city that we haven't seen yet. And God does not tell us while we're waiting for that city to one day be revealed that we are to put a bubble around us so that we stay pure. He doesn't say to isolate ourselves from the communities that we live in. God would tell us, I think, the same thing that he tells the nation of Israel. Look, pursue the well-being of your communities. Because when they thrive, you're going to thrive. When you help them, you help you. We at the Orchard want to exist in such a way that it is for the good of the communities that we find ourselves in. But again, as we've already said, I think that the bigger picture there for us is that as we pursue the well-being of our communities, as we pursue the well-being of families, as we pursue the well-being of schools and recreation departments and city councils, as we pursue the well-being of our communities, what we're ultimately going to do is open doors for the gospel, so that we can build relationships with people, so that they can see our hearts, so that they can see the love of Jesus through our love for them. And as I said at the very beginning, that's who we want to be at the Orchard. That's one of our core values, is we want to be a church that wants something for you and not just something from you. I think the world, the culture that we live in, everybody's always asking something from you. They want your time, your attention, your energy, your money, whatever. And really, it's to help them, to promote them, to push them forward. But I think at the Orchard, we want to be different. We don't want something from you. We want something for you. And that doesn't mean that we're never going to ask anything of you. It just means that when we ask something of you, maybe like to go serve on an Impact Sunday, to find a small group, to come to a worship service, to give financially, we believe that those things we're asking from you are ultimately going to be for you, because it is going to strengthen and deepen your spiritual formation and your walk with Jesus. And so that's who we are. That's who we want to be as a church. We want something for you, not from you. And that's what Impact Sunday is all about going out into our communities and making an impact by being for people, by being for families, by being for those people who don't have anyone in their corner, by doing something without asking for anything in return. You see, I think when we do that and we show that kind of sacrificial love, when we show that humble servanthood, I believe we're really going to move the needle on the gospel impacting lostness in our communities. And so even though you're watching this today, it's not too late for you to do something as well. Go find somebody that you can be for. Go find someone who doesn't have anyone being for them, and you step up to the plate. Because as we've said all month long, what we're doing today is going to help us impact tomorrow. And so what I'm going to do is ask you one more time, hey, let's get after it. Let's go make an impact. Let's be for our communities.